evening, everybody. Hi. Look, I even curled my hair today. That's how exciting life is at the moment. Let's see, let me just turn the music down. Oh, I can hear my echo already. Hi, Georgie. Look, everybody, can you see? Georgie, sit. Sit. Oh, lovely. He's come to say hello to everybody today. There we go. All right. Good evening. Are you gonna just want struggles all the time now? Are you just gonna be stroked? He's just gonna want to be stroked the whole time. I'm gonna say, no, you can't read. You've got to stroke me. Pay me attention. He says, pay me attention. Hey, isn't he a sweetheart? He is absolutely. Hello to everybody who is watching. Georgie, you're gonna have to sit down or go away. But whatever you do, do not knock that tripod, because I knocked it over twice already today. And my phone went crashing to the floor, didn't it? Went crashing to the floor. Yes, it did. Right, go on. Go away. Go away. See, this is how obedient my dog is. Go away. Show everyone how obedient you are. Go away. I don't know whether you could see his eyes just then. It was so funny. You have the most gorgeous eyes. Yes, you do. Now go away and stop spitting at me. Especially what comes out of your nose. Thank you. All right. I've got to read now. You've got to let me concentrate. All right. Good. Good evening, everybody. I'm sorry. Slight little upstaging from my beautiful black Labrador, Georgie, just then, who has not had enough attention from me, I think, today. That's what he's decided anyway. So he decided, thank you very much for the likes and the loves. He decided that he needed attention right now at this minute, which is always the way. Yes, good evening. I hope you have all been having a lovely week with this beautiful weather. And for those of you who are in Austria, that you've been able to get out and about a little bit more. If you're back at work, I hope that's working okay in the office and you feel comfortable. I am on tonight and tomorrow night. That was my deal with Saman, because I was supposed to read yesterday evening and I was so tired. I said to her, oh, go on, can you read? And I'll read tonight and tomorrow night. And she went, oh, that sounds like a good exchange. But wasn't, so we did. So that's what we've done. If any of you have not yet listened to Sam Madhva reading on Tuesday evening, it was so funny. It was such a funny story. And I tell you what, both of them, you know, Saman and Sam are not native speakers, not like me. So for me, I can just gabble away, turn to the dozen, it doesn't matter. But they're actually both not native speakers, but they both speak English so beautifully. And Sam also did a fantastic, Saman always does a fantastic job. Sam was the first time guest of honor on the program. And if you haven't listened to it yet, do listen to it. It's about an hour and a half long. But it is incredibly funny, and we had such a lovely time listening to him. So thank you very much from me now publicly to Sam for reading. And again, you can find it in our videos. It was the Tuesday night reading. It says Roald Dahl on it. Absolutely hilarious. You can listen to it any time of the day. It's up there for the moment, but I am going to take it down probably on Sunday just because we might have a few rights issues. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are on the 30, and this is a tongue twister, the 35th night. Now say that when you're not an English native speaker and you're drunk. The 35th night of 1001 Arabian Nights. For those of you who do not know, my name is Joanna Godwin Seidl. I am the director and actress at Vienna Theatre Project. And we started reading the 1001 Arabian Nights during lockdown to keep people entertained and happy and keep ourselves alive and entertained and happy, and the brain ticking over a little bit. I hope you will enjoy this evening. Please feel free to now I've got my 35th night in my head. Feel free to make comments throughout the reading this evening, and likes and hearts and loves and Umarmungen and whatever your heart desires. We love to hear back from you. You're more than welcome to talk to us after the show as well. I stay on a little bit just to say good night. And other than that, please do give us feedback anytime you like. If you would like to read for us and come on, our special guest nights are Tuesday nights. If you would like to read for us or do something or throw up a monologue that you want me to put up after reading, Tuesday night is the night that we do that. Please let me know. Please send me content. Get in contact with me on Facebook. Or if you have my phone number, you're very lucky, then call me. And I look very much forward to hearing from you. Right now, I have my love incense burning. My candles are in the fireplace. And I am very much looking forward to reading to you this evening from 1001 Arabian Nights. So, let us start. Now, if you remember, Nur al-Din had procured himself a young slave girl who should have actually gone to the Sultan. His father bought her for him at a market, and this young slave girl should have gone to the Sultan, but she didn't, because the father, Nur al-Din's father, liked her so much and knew that she was going to be perfect for his son. So, knowing that this might cause a row for the Sultan, he went against his wishes anyway. And was it for 10,000 dirham or dinars? I can't remember which. He bought this young lady and has now delivered her to his son at a little bit of risk. So here we go. Now, when it was the 35th night, Shahrazad continued, "It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the wazir said to his wife, Wottest thou not that yonder standeth our enemy, Al-Mu'in bin Sawi, who, as soon as he hears of this matter, will go up to the Sultan and say to him, Thy wazir, who, thou wilt have it loveth thee, took from thee, there we go, 10,000 ducats, and bought therewith a slave girl, whose like none have ever beheld. But when he saw her, she pleased him, and he said to his son, Take her, thou art worthier of her than the Sultan. So he took her, and did away with her virginity, and she is now in his house. The king will say, Thou liest, to which he will reply, With thy leave, I will fall upon him unawares, and bring her to thee. The king will give him warranty for this, and he will come down upon the house, and will take the girl and present her to the Sultan, who will question her, and she will not be able to deny the past. Then mine enemy will say, O my lord, thou wottest that I give thee the best of counsel, but I have not found favour in thine eyes. Thereupon the Sultan will make an example of me, and I shall be a gazing stock to all the people, and my life will be lost. Quoth his wife, Let none know of this thing which hath happened privily, and commit thy case to Allah, and trust in him to save thee from such strait. For he who knoweth the future shall provide for the future. With this, she brought the wazir a cup of wine, and his heart was quieted, and he ceased to feel wrath and fear. Thus far concerning him. But as regards his son, Nur al-Din Ali, fearing the consequence of his misdeed, he abode his day long in the flower garden, and came back only at night to his mother's apartment, where he slept, and rising before dawn, returned to the gardens. He ceased not to do thus for 2 whole months, without showing his face to his parents, till at last his mother said to his father, O my lord, shall we lose our boy as well as the girl? If matters continue long in this way, he will flee from us. "And what to do?" asked he. And she answered, "Do thou watch this night, and when he cometh, seize on him and frighten him. I will rescue him from thee, and do thou make peace with him, and give him the damsel to wife, for she loveth him, and frighten him. For she loveth him, and he loveth her, and I will pay thee her price." So the minister sat up that night, and when his son came, he seized him, and throwing him down, knelt on his breast, and showed as though he would cut his throat. But his mother ran to the youth's succour, and asked her husband, "What wouldst thou do with him?" He answered, "I will split his weasand." Said the son to the father, "Is my death then so light a matter to thee?" And his father's eyes welled with tears, for natural affection moved him, and he rejoined, "O my son, how light was thee the loss of my good and my life." Quoth Nur al-Din, "Hear, O my father, what the poet hath said. Forgive me, thee ward sinned I, but the wise ne'er to the sinner shall deny his grace. Thy foe may pardon sue when lieth he in lowest, and thou holdest highest place." Thereupon the wazir rose from off his son's breast, saying, "I forgive thee," for his heart yearned to him. And the youth kissed the hand of his sire, who said, "O my son, were I sure that thou wouldest deal justly by Anis al-Jalis, I would give her to thee. O my father, what justice am I to do to her? I enjoin thee, O my son, not to take another wife or concubine to share with her, nor sell her. O my father, I swear to thee that verily I will not do her injustice in either way." Having sworn that effect, Nur al-Din went into the damsel and abode with her a whole year, whilst Allah Almighty caused the king to forget the matter of the maiden. And Al-Mu'in, though the affair came to his ears, dared not divulge it by reason of the high favour in which his rival stood with the Sultan. At the end of the year, Al-Fazal went one day to the public baths, and as he came out, whilst he was still sweating, the air struck him, and he caught a cold, which turned to a fever. Then he took to his bed. His malady gained ground, and restlessness was longsome upon him, and weakness bound him like a chain. So he called out, "Hither with my son." And when Nur al-Din Ali came to him, he said to him, "O my son, know that man's lot and means are distributed and decreed, and the end of days by all must be dreed, and that every soul drain the cup of death is nature's need." Then he repeated these lines: "I die my death, but he alone is great who dieth not, and well I wot, soon shall I die, for death was made my lot. A king there's not that dies and holds his kingdom in his hand, for sovereignty the kingdom is of him who dieth not." Then he continued, "O my son, I have no charge to leave thee, save that thou fear Allah and look to the issues of thine acts, and bear in mind my injunctions anent Anis al-Jalis. O my father, said Nur al-Din, who is like unto thee? Indeed thou art famed for well-doing, and preachers offer prayers for thee in their pulpits. Quoth al-Fazal, O my son, I hope that Allah Almighty may grant me acceptance. Then he pronounced the 2 testimonies, or professions of the faith, and was recorded among the blessed. The palace was filled with crying and lamentation, and the news of his death reached the king, and the city people wept, even those at their prayers, and women at household cares, and the school children shed tears for bin Kakan. Then his son Nur al-Din Ali arose and made ready his funeral, and the emirs and wazirs and high officers of state and city notables were present, amongst them the wazir al-Mu'in bin Sawi. And as the bier went forth, when the house came, someone in the crowd of mourners began to chant these lines. On the 5th day, I quitted all my friends for evermore, and they laid me out and washed me on a slab without my door. They stripped me of the clothes I was ere wont to wear, and they clothed me in the clothes which till then I never wore. On 4 men's necks they bore me and carried me from home to chapel, and some prayed for him on neck they bore. They prayed for me a prayer that no protestation knows. They prayed for me who praised me and were my friends of yore. And they laid me in a house with a ceiling vaulted o'er, and time shall be no more ere it ope to me its door. When they had shovelled in the dust over him, and the crowd had dispersed, Nur al-Din returned home, and he lamented with sobs and tears, and the tongue of the case repeated these couplets. On the 5th day, at eventide, they went away from me. I farewelled them, as their faring made farewell my lot. But my spirit as they went with them went, and so I cried, Ah, return ye. But replied she, Alas, return is not. To a framework leer and lawn that lacketh blood and life, a frame whereof remaineth naught but bones that rattle and rot. Mine eyes are blind and cannot see, quenched by the flowing tear. Mine ears are dull and lost to sense. They have no power to hear. He abode a long time sorrowing for his father, till one day, as he was sitting at home, there came a knocking at the door. So he rose in haste, and opening it, let in a man, one of his father's intimates, who had been the wazir's boon companion. The visitor kissed Nur al-Din's hands and said to him, O my lord, he who hath left the like of thee is not dead. And this way went also the chief of the ancients and the moderns. O my lord Ali, be comforted and leave sorrowing. Thereupon Nur al-Din rose, and going to the guest saloon, transported thither all he needed. Then he assembled his companions and took his handmaid again, and collecting around him 10 of the sons of the merchants, began to eat meat and drink wine, giving entertainment after entertainment, and lavishing his presents and his favours. One day his steward came to him and said, O my lord Nur al-Din, hast thou not heard the saying, whoso spendeth and reckoneth not, to poverty wendeth and recketh not? And he repeated what the poet wrote. I look to my money and keep it with care, for right well I wot 'tis my buckler and brand. Did I lavish my dirhams on hostiliest foes, I should truck my good luck by mine ill luck trepanned. So I'll eat it and drink it and joy in my wealth, and no spending my pennies on others I'll stand. I will keep my purse close 'gainst whoever he be, and a miser in grain, a true friend ne'er I fand. Far better deny him than come to say, lend, and fivefold the loan shall return to thy hand. And he turns face aside and he sidles away, while I stand like a dog, disappointed and manned. Oh, the sorry lot his who hath yellow boys none, though his genius and virtues shine bright as the sun. O my master, continued the steward, this lavish outlay and these magnificent gifts waste away wealth. When Nur al-Din Ali heard these words, he looked at his servant and cried, of all thou hast spoken, I will not heed one single word, for I have heard the saying of the poet who saith, and my palm be full of wealth, and my wealth I ne'er bestow. A palsy take my hand, and my foot ne'er rise again. Show me miser, who by miserly e'er rose to high degree, or the generous in gifts generosity hath slain. And he pursued, know, O steward, it is my desire that so long as thou hast money enough for my breakfast, thou trouble me not with taking thought about my supper. Thereupon the steward asked, must it be so? And he answered, it must. So the honest man went his way, and Nur al-Din Ali devoted his extravagance, and if any of his cup companions chanced to say, this is a pretty thing, he would reply, 'tis a gift to thee. Or if another said, oh my lord, such a house is handsome, he would answer, take it, it is thine. After this reckless fashion, he continued to live for a whole year, giving his friends a banquet in the morning, a banquet in the evening, and a banquet at midnight. Till one day, as the company was sitting together, the damsel Anis al-Jalis repeated these lines. Thou deemest well of time when days went well, and fearest not what ills might deal thee fate. Thy nights so fair and restful cozened thee, for peaceful nights bring woes of heavy weight. When she had ended her verse, behold, somebody knocked at the door. So Nur al-Din rose to open it, and one of his boon companions followed him without being perceived. At the door he found his steward and asked him, what is the matter? And he answered, O my lord, what I dreaded for thee hath come to pass. How so? Know that there remains not a dirham's worth, less or more, in my hands. Here are my dafters and account books, showing both income and outlay, and the registers of thine original property. When Nur al-Din heard these words, he bowed his head and said, There is no majesty and there is no might save in Allah. When the man had followed him privily to spy on him, heard the steward's words, he returned to his friends and warned them, saying, Look ye well to what ye do. Nur al-Din is penniless. And as the young host came back to his guests, vexation showed itself in his face. Thereupon one of his intimates rose and, looking at the entertainer, said to him, Oh, my lord, maybe thou wilt give me leave to retire. And why so early retirement this day? Asked he. And the other answered him, My wife is in childbirth, and I may not be absent for her. Indeed, I must return and see how she does. So he gave him leave. Whereupon another rose and said, Oh, my lord Nur al-Din, I wish now to go to my brother's, for he circumcised his son today. And in short, each and every asked permission to retire on some pretense or other, until all the 10 were gone, leaving Nur al-Din alone. Then he called his slave girl and said to her, O Anis al-Jalis, hast thou seen what case is mine? And he related to her what the steward had told him. Then quoth she, O my lord, for many nights I had it in my mind to speak with thee of this matter, but I heard thee repeating, When the world heaps favours on thee, pass on. Thy favours to friends, e'en her hand she stay. Largesse never let her when fain she comes, nor miserliness kept her from turning away. When I heard these verses, I held my peace and cared not to exchange a word with thee. Hoja Anis al-Jalis, said Nur al-Din, thou knowest what I have not wasted my wealth save on my friends, especially these men who have now left me a pauper, and I think they will not abandon and desert me without relief. By Allah, replied she, they will not profit thee with aught of aid. Said he, I will rise at once and go to them and knock at their doors, and it may be I shall get from them somewhat wherewith I may trade and leave pastime and pleasuring. So he rose without stay or delay and repaired to a street wherein all his 10 friends lived. He went up to the nearest door and knocked. Whereupon a handmaid came out and asked him, Who art thou? And he answered, Well, tell thy master that Nur al-Din Ali standeth at the door and saith to him, Thy slave kisseth thy hand and awaiteth thy bounty. The girl went in and told her master, who cried at her, Go back and say my master is not at home. So she returned to Nur al-Din and said to him, O my lord, my master is out. Thereupon he turned away and said to himself, If this one be a whoreson knave and deny himself, another may not prove himself such knave and whoresome. Then he went up to the next door and sent in a message alike to the housemaster, who denied him as the first had done, whereupon he began repeating, He is gone, who, when his gate thou goest, fed thy famished maw with his boiled and roast. When he had ended his verse, he said, By Allah, there is no help but that I make trial of them all. Perchance that be one amongst them who will stand me in the stead of all the rest. So he went round the 10, but not one of them would open his door to him, or show himself, or even break a bit of bread before him, whereupon he recited, Like a tree is he who in wealth doth wone, and while fruits he the folk to his fruit shall run. But when he bear the tree of what fruit it bear, they leave it to suffer from dust and sun. Perdition to all of this age I find, 10 rogues for every righteous one. Then he returned to his slave girl, and his grief had grown more grievous, and she said to him, O my lord, did I not tell you? None would profit thee with aught of aid. And he replied, By Allah, not one of them would show me his face or know me. O my lord, quoth she, sell some of the movables and household stuff, such as pots and pans, little by little, and expend the proceeds until Allah Almighty shall provide. So he sold all that was in the house till nothing remained, when he turned to Anis al-Jalis and asked her, What shall we do now? And she answered him, O my lord, it is my advice that thou rise forthwith and take me down to the bazaar and sell me. Thou knowest that thy father bought me for 10,000 dinars. Haply Allah may open thee a way to get the same price, and if it be his will to bring us once more together, we shall meet again. Oh, Anis al-Jalis, cried he, by Allah, it is no light matter for me to be parted from thee for a single hour. By Allah, O my lord, she replied, nor is it easy for me to part with thee either. But need hath its own law, and as the poet said, need drives a man into devious roads and pathways doubtful of trend and scope. No man to a rope will entrust his weight, save for cause that calleth for the case of rope. Thereupon he rose to his feet and took her, whilst the tears rolled down his cheeks like rain, and he recited with the tongue of the case that these lines, Stay, grant one parting look before we part, nerving my heart this severance to sustain. But, and this parting deal thee pain and bane, leave me to die of love and spare thee pain. Then he went down with her to the bazaar and delivered her to the broker and said to him, O Hajj Hassan, I pray thee note the value of her thou hast to cry for my sale. O my lord Nur al-Din, quoth the broker, the fundamentals are remembered, adding, Is not this the Anis al-Jalis, whom thy father bought of me for 10,000 dinars? Yes, said Nur al-Din. Thereupon the broker went around to the merchants, but found that all had not yet assembled. So he waited till the rest had arrived, and the market was crowded with slave girls of all nations, Turks, Franks, and Circassians, Abyssinians, Nubians, and Takruris, Tartars, Georgians, and others. When he came forward, and standing cried aloud, O merchants, O men of money, every round thing is not a walnut, and every long thing a banana is not. All reds are not meat, nor all whites fat, nor is every brown thing a date. O merchants, I have here this union pearl that hath no price. At what sum shall I cry her? Cry her at 4,500 dinars, quoth one of the traders. The broker opened the door of sale at the sum named, and as he was yet calling, lo, the Wazir al-Mu'in bin Sawi passed through the bazaar, and seeing Nur al-Din waiting at one side, said to himself, Why is Kakan's son standing about here? Hath his gallows bird aught remaining wherein to buy slave girls? Then he looked around, and seeing the broker calling out in the market with all the merchants around him, said to himself, I am sure that he is penniless, and hath brought hither the damsel Anis al-Jalis for sale, adding, Oh, how cooling and grateful is this to my heart. Then he called the crier, who came up and kissed the ground before him, and said to him, I want this slave girl who thou art calling for sale. The broker dared not cross him, so he answered, O my lord, Bismillah, in Allah's name, so be it, and led forward the damsel and showed her to him. She pleased him much, whereat he asked, O Hassan, what is bidden for this girl? And he answered, 4,500 dinars to the open of the door of sale. Quoth Al-Mu'in, 4,500 dinars is my bid. When the merchants heard this, they held back and dared not bid another dirham, wotting what they did of the wazir's tyranny, violence, and treachery. So Al-Mu'in looked at the broker and said to him, Why stand still? Go and offer 4,000 dinars for me, and the 500 shall be for thyself. Thereupon the broker went to Nur al-Din and said, O my lord, thy slave is going for nothing. And how so? Asked he. The broker answered, We had opened the biddings for her at 4,500 dinars, when that tyrant Al-Mu'in bin Sawi passed through the bazaar, and as he saw the damsel, she pleased him. So he cried to me, Call the buyer at 4,000 dinars, and thou shalt have 5,000 for thyself. I doubt not but that he knoweth that the damsel is thine, and if he would pay thee down her price at once, it were well. But I know his injustice and violence, and he will give thee a written order upon some of his agents, and will send after thee to say to them, Pay him nothing. And so as often as thou shalt go in quest of the coin, they will say, We'll pay thee presently, and they will put thee off day after day. And thou art proud of spirit, till at last, when they are wearied with thine importunity, they will say, "Show us the cheque." Then, as soon as they have got hold of it, they will tear it up, and so thou wilt lose the girl's price. When Nur al-Din heard this, he looked at the broker and asked him, "How shall this matter be managed?" And he answered, "I will give thee a counsel which, if thou follow it, shall bring thee complete satisfaction." "And what is that?" quoth Nur al-Din. Quoth the broker, "Come thou to me anon when I am standing in the middle of the market, and, taking the girl from my hand, give her a sound cuffing, and say to her, 'Thou baggage, have kept my vow and brought thee down to the slave market. I have kept my vow and brought thee down to the slave market because I swore an oath that I would carry thee from home to the bazaar and make brokers cry thee for sale. If thou do this, perhaps the device will impose upon the wazir Excuse me, can you all still see me? Am I still live? I am, I believe, because my computer has gone off. Can somebody just send me a hi that you're all still live? Because my computer's doing strange things. Oh, it is. I don't know what my computer's doing. I'm just going to continue unless somebody shows me that they can't see anything. Excuse me, everybody. I'm just going to double check this and reload my page. I have a very strange feeling that this has gone off. Oh no, it's still on. Okay, you're all still there. I do apologise for that. For some reason, the video is doing strange things. Ah, there we go. All right, sorry, I just had to check. Hi everybody, sorry. My computer was just showing me strange things, so I just had to double check it. Where were we? Simsalabim. Ah, I know. I tell the maiden, I kept my vow and brought thee down to the slave market because I swore an oath that I would carry thee from the home to the bazaar and make brokers cry thee for sale. If thou do this, perhaps the device will impose upon the wazir and the people, and they will believe that thou broughtest her not to the bazaar, but for the quittance of thine oath. He replied, such were the best way. Then the broker left him, and returning into the midst of the market, took the damsel by the hand and signed to the wazir and said, O my lord, here is her owner. With this, up came Nur al-Din Ali, and snatching the girl from the broker's hand, cuffed her soundly, and said to her, Shame on thee, O thou baggage! I have brought thee to the bazaar for quittance of mine oath. Now get thee home, and thwart me no more as is thy wont. Woe to thee! Do I need thy price that thou shouldst sell thee? The furniture of my house would fetch thy value many times over. When Al-Mu'in saw this, he said to Nur al-Din, Out on thee! Hast thou anything left for selling or buying? And he would have laid violent hands upon him, but the merchants interposed, for they all loved Nur al-Din. And the young man said to them, Here am I in your hands, and ye all know his tyranny. Then all signed with significant eyes to Nur al-Din, as much to say, Take thy wreak of him. Not one of us will come between thee and him. Thereupon, Nur al-Din, who was stout of heart as he was stalwart of limb, went up to the wazir and, dragging him over the pommel of his saddle, threw him to the ground. Now, there was in that place a puddling pit for brick clay, into the midst of which he fell. And Nur al-Din kept pummeling him and fisticuffing him, and one of the blows fell full on his teeth, and his beard was dyed with his blood. Also, there was with the minister 10 armed slaves, who, seeing their master so entreated after this fashion, laid hand on sword hilt, and would have bared blades and fallen on Nur al-Din to cut him down. But the merchants and bystanders said to him, "This is a wazir, and that is the son of a wazir. Haply they will make friends some time or other, in which case you will forfeit the favour of both. Or, perchance, a blow may befall your lord, and you will all die the vilest of deaths. So it were better for you not to interfere." Accordingly, they held aloof, and when Nur al-Din had made an end of thrashing the wazir, he took his handmaid and fared homewards. Al-Mu'in also went to his ways at once, with his raiments dyed of 3 colours, black with mud, red with blood, and ash-coloured with brick clay. When he saw himself in this state, he bound a bit of matting around his neck and, taking in his hand 2 bundles of coarse halfa grass, went up to the palace and, standing under the Sultan's windows, cried aloud, "O King of the Ages, I am a wronged man. I am foully wronged." So they brought him before the king, who looked at him, and behold, it was the chief minister. Whereupon he said, "O Wazir, who did this deed by thee?" Al-Mu'in wept and sobbed and repeated these lines: "Shall the world oppress me when thou art in it? In the lion's presence shall wolves devour? Shall the dry all drink of thine tanks, and I, under rain cloud, thirst for the cooling shower? O my lord," cried he, "the like will befall everyone who loveth and serveth thee well." "Be quick with thee," quoth the Sultan, "and tell me how this came to pass, and who did this deed by one whose honour is part of my honour." Quoth the Wazir, "Know, O my lord, that I went out this day to the slave market to buy me a cookmaid, when I saw there a damsel. Never in my life long saw I fairer, and I designed to buy her for our lord the Sultan. So I asked the broker of her and of her owner, and he answered, She belongeth to Ali, son of Al-Fazal bin Kakan. Soon, time ago, our lord the Sultan gave her father 10,000 dinars, wherewith to buy him a handsome slave girl. And he bought this maiden who pleased him. So he grudged her to our lord the Sultan and gave her to his own son. When the father died, the son sold all he had of houses and gardens and household gear and squandered the price till he was penniless. Then he brought the girl to the market that he might sell her, and he handed her over to the broker to cry the merchants bid higher and higher on her, until her price had reached 4,000 dinars. Whereupon quoth I to myself, I will buy this damsel for our lord the Sultan, whose money was paid for her. So I paid Nur al-Din. O my son, sell her to me for 4,000. I said to Nur al-Din, O my son, sell her to me for 4,000 dinars. When he heard my words, he looked at me and cried, O ill-omened oldster, I will sell her to a Jew or to a Nazarene, but I will not sell her to thee. I do not buy her for myself, said I buy her for our lord and benefactor the Sultan. Hearing my words, he was filled with rage, and dragging me off my horse, and I am a very old man, beat me unmercifully with his fist, and buffeted me with his palms, till he left me as thou seest. And all this hath befallen me only because I thought to buy this damsel for thee. Then the wazir threw himself on the ground and lay there weeping and shivering. When the Sultan saw his condition and heard his story, the vein of rage started out between his eyes, and he turned to his bodyguard and stood before him 40 white slaves, smiters with the sword, and said to them, Go down forthright to the house built by the son of Kakan, and sack it, and raze it, and bring to me his son, Nur al-Din, excuse me, with the damsel. And drag them both on their faces, with their arms pinioned behind them. They replied, To hear is to obey. And arming themselves, they set out for the house of Nur al-Din Ali. Now, about the Sultan was a chamberlain, Alam al-Bin Sinjar Hait, who had aforetime been Mameluke to Al-Fazal. But he had risen in the world, and the Sultan had advanced him to one of his chamberlains. When he heard the king's command, and saw the enemies make them ready to slay his old master's son, it was grievous to him. So he went out from before the Sultan, and mounting his beast, rode to Nur al-Din's house, and knocked at the door, and Nur al-Din came out, and knowing him, would have saluted him. But he said, O my master, there is no time for greeting or treating. Listen to what the poet said. Fly, fly with thy life, if thy be ill overtaken. Let thy house speak thy death, by its builder forsaken. For a land else than this land thou mayest reach, my brother, but thy life thou'lt never find in this world another. O Alam al-Din, what cheer, asked Nur al-Din, as he answered, Rise quickly, and fly for thy life, thou and the damsel, for Al-Mu'in hath set a snare for you both, and if you fall into his hands, he will slay you. The Sultan hath dispatched 40 sworders against you, and I counsel you to flee ere harm can hurt you. Then Sanjar put his hand to his purse, and finding there 40 gold pieces, took them and gave them to Nur al-Din, saying, O my lord, receive these and journey with them. Had I more, I would give them to thee, but this is not the time to take exception. Thereupon Nur al-Din went into the damsel and told her what had happened, at which she wrung her hands. Then they fared forth at once from the city, and Allah spread over them his veil of protection, so that they reached the river bank, where they found a vessel ready for sea. Her skipper was standing amidships, and crying, Whoso hath aught to do, whether in the way of provisioning or taking leave of his people, or whoso hath forgotten any needful thing, let him do it at once and return, for we are about to sail. And all of them saying, There is naught left to be done by us, O captain. So he cried to his crew, Hello there, cast off the cable. and pull up the mooring pole, quoth Nur al-Din. With a bound, O captain, and quoth he, to the house of peace, Baghdad. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day and ceased to say her permitted say. And so endeth the 35th night. Tomorrow, on the 36th night, I hope, and I'm sure, we are going to find out what will happen to Nur al-Din and his damsel. I hope it goes well with them. I don't know. I haven't read it yet. I didn't read on. I could have done, but I chose not to because I didn't want to know at the end of tonight's story what had already happened the next time. Otherwise, I couldn't read it with such trepidation. I really hope you all enjoyed this evening's reading. Hello, Jochen. I can't see everyone. I could scroll up. I could scroll this way. I don't know. Hello, Silka. Lovely to see you. Hi, Ina. Hi, Stefan. Hi, Jihad. It's so lovely to see you too. Anas, hi there. Hi, Jochen. Hi, everybody who's watching that I'm not saying hello to. Hi, Anita, as always. It has been an absolute pleasure reading for you this evening. It is. It was a long one this evening. That was an hour's read. But, you know, we determined that we would read one a night. It's 11:15 already. I don't think I have anything more to add this evening other than I hope you enjoyed. I'm going to take a little water again. God, that was thirsty reading tonight. I was beginning to lose it a little bit in the middle there. I hope you enjoyed tonight's story. Kind of had this feeling that it should have been made into a Hollywood film. It was so romantic. You are more than welcome. It was an absolute pleasure to read for you. Thank you very much for your gratitude and for your thanks and for the likes, everybody, and for the loves and what other emojis you sent in my direction. It was an absolute, yes, it was tonight. I read it when I read it earlier. It had this wonderful love story to it somehow that was also very tragic. If Nur al-Din hadn't been so foolish, he would have never got himself into this precarious situation. And if he hadn't beat, what's he called, Al-Mu'in, then maybe there may have been another way to get out of this, but he seems to have made the foolish decision. Well, of course, one will never know what would have happened if he had not beaten him, but he made this decision to beat him rather violently instead of bowing out very quietly and gracefully from the situation with his young lady. So, and maybe letting the merchant stand between them so he could have walked off to fight the fight another day when he had discovered what he was going to do. Anyway, that is the story this evening. It had this wonderful Hollywood touch to it. It was very dramatic, I felt. I enjoyed reading it very much. Tomorrow we will find out what happens in the next part of the story. I very much look forward to reading to you then. I wish you all, wherever you are around the world, a very peaceful day, a very peaceful morning if it's your morning, a very peaceful night if it is the night or evening, wherever you are. Take care of yourself, be kind to yourself, treat yourself very, very well, love yourself very, very much. I hope things are going okay for you where you are, and I will see you again tomorrow evening. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day. Tomorrow is Friday. It's the weekend, right? Tomorrow is Friday, right? So the weekend is coming up. For those of you in Austria who didn't know and didn't realize, oh, thank you so much for the hearts. That's so kind. For those of you who don't know in Austria, it was actually today a bank holiday. My mother-in-law sent me a message saying, have a great Sunday. And I was like, have a great Sunday. It is actually a bank holiday, dear mother-in-law. So there you go. Thank you so much. Your love is so well received, I can promise you. I'm going to dare to go to a restaurant this weekend. Apparently, my husband has said, let's go and eat out on Saturday night. So that's going to be a daring thing. I was invited even to go round to a friend's house today, and she told me that there was going to be a group of other people there, and I didn't know the group of other people. And because I am still a little bit cautious, because I don't know how it is where you are, but in Austria, I like to take care still, because this virus still is a thing. I invite you all. I know things have loosened up. Actually, I'm going to say this, because it's very important to me. I know there's been a lot of what we call Auflockerungen in Austrian, in German. There's been, things have loosened up in many countries around the world already with the virus. The virus, although it's been beaten down, the virus does still exist. And somebody showed me a statistic here where, now you'd have to meet, it's 1 in 3,000 people or something are going to get it. But you might meet that 1 in 3,000 people have it or something. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, it was a crazy statistic where, you'd have to meet 3,000 people and one of them would have it and then you get it. But the thing is, you might meet that one. So don't forget. Do not forget. I went into a shop yesterday, and even the shop assistant kept walking up to me and putting things in a box, and I couldn't move away from her from the cash desk far enough. I would have had to stand back from the wall to be away from her. Now I'm going out and I'm meeting friends and I'm talking to people. I went out to lunch with Saman, actually. Was it the day before yesterday? Was it yesterday? No, it was the day before yesterday. Saman and I went out for lunch. There's a picture of us together having lunch on my Facebook page, actually, and potentially on hers as well. And we had a wonderful time. But we do social distance as well. We are taking care, and I do invite you. This is not over yet. And if you are not cautious, we're all going to end up in a lockdown again. And I would really, really like to avoid that. So wear a mask. It doesn't hurt. For most of us, for those people in shops, it's very, very difficult, of course, because they've got to wear masks all day long. For most of us, we can go home or into our office and hopefully at some stage close a door or whatever it is that we have to do, or be away from people. Wear a mask. It doesn't hurt. Keep your distance from people on the street. It doesn't hurt. Okay? Please do that. I was invited to a group of people today, and actually because I didn't know, apart from 2 of them, I didn't know who the other people were. I actually then said to my friend, thanks, but I won't. I think I'll stay home. And I actually really enjoyed myself because, quite frankly, my husband, who's normally on conference calls all day long, actually went into the office today because it was a bank holiday here and he knew no one would probably be there. So he went into the office and I had silence in my house. Normally from 8 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock in the evening, it's one conference call after another, and I have to go and shut myself up in my office to get away from the noise. But because this way, he can walk around and go into the kitchen very easily downstairs in where we live, and he can go into the kitchen backwards and forwards very easily and make himself cup of teas and move around. He's working all day long, so I think he should have the space and the room to be able to do whatever he wants to do, and I can work upstairs and read my plays and do my office work upstairs at the moment, while unfortunately the theatres are still closed. So we will find out on Monday what's going to happen with that. Now I've spoken too much again. There we go. That is Joanna's way. Guys, have a wonderful evening, night, day, whatever it is. And tomorrow have a beautiful day. I look very much forward to reading to you again tomorrow. And not sure what's going to happen on Tuesday yet. Maybe I'll find out tomorrow. Maybe we can get Sam reading again. Maybe not. Maybe it'll be me or Saman reading 1001 Arabian Nights again. You guys, have a great evening. It was an absolute pleasure. Really, really loved it. If you only just logged in, don't forget these videos are online all the time, so you can catch up on all the 1001 nights so far. We're only at night 35, so we've still got a number of nights to go, and Saman and I have made the decision that we're going to read the whole 1001 Arabian Nights. So even if we're 80 and still reading this stuff, we are going to read it. So you'll be able to see how we age. How we age over the years. That'll be a laugh. Guys, Good night. Take care. Many salams. Look after yourselves. Much love. Bye-bye. Good night. I'm signing out. Bye.